I'm Sifu Brazil, SFG, known as the Iron Lohan. Today we're going over hip hinging for deadlifting. As you can see, a lot of times what people have a trouble with is knowing how to hip hinge when they do any form of deadlift, because they generally want to squat. Squatting is a very natural thing of going down and up. There is still a hip hinge there, but it's very minimal. But what we're trying to work on, so if we were going to deadlift something, maybe pick something up, is we got to push our hips back first, okay? So we get in this position where we notice we have a vertical shin, hamstrings are stretched out. You should be able to feel there's a slight knee bend going on. So I shouldn't necessarily be like this. This could be worked fine as like some form of stretching. Like if I was starting in this position, do what's called a good morning. This is a perfectly fine position, but if we want to make sure we engage fully for a deadlift, we want to make sure we get the knees slightly bent. As we push out, we can wag the tail. Okay? And then from here, we want to focus on thrusting hips forward. So when you do a deadlift, it's about a forward and back motion, not a down and up. A down and up represents a squat. A back and forward motion represents a deadlift. Furthermore, to help you with the hinging, to create the silver back spine, is we want to create a big chest. So we open big. We're going to put our hips here right on our pelvis bone. We're going to sit our hips back, and when we can pinch them to the top part of our quadriceps and our lower abdominals in that pinch in our hands, that's how we know we're in a good position to now be ready for an actual deadlift at this position, whether I had a barbell or a kettlebell. So from here, so when I thrust forward, so if I got my kettlebell here, generally with the kettlebells we put them in between our feet, not in front of us. A barbell we'll have in front of us because of the position, but here they'll be in between our feet. So from here, we're going to focus on that chop, sink the hips back, reach down. If I can't reach it, then I squat, but I got to make sure my hips go first. Big chest. Okay, thrust hips forward, roll the shoulders back, hips go back again, and go down. As you notice, when I do this, my shins are pretty vertical because now I'm focusing on the hip hinge. If I rock them forward, now I'm squatting technically. I am now officially in a squat because I'm going forward over my toes. So I actually want to push those back, so now I know I'm in a deadlift position. Something to focus on. Okay, now we're going to do the testing for the hip mobility for deadlifting. It's extremely important to use something, once again, you got like a wall, you got something to post up, you got a park, you got a lamp post. I mean, anything's fine as long as you're comfortable. The key is to stand mildly away from it, maybe a good foot away, because you got to challenge it. So it's good to start as close as you can. Remember, push the hips back until you hit the item, okay, until you hit the object. Now you know, okay, you have an idea of where you need to be for the hip hinge, and then go forward to challenge it, which is once again extremely important because you want to feel like you're going to fall backwards. You really want to stretch out these hamstrings. So from here, I hit my hips, I really reach for it, and see my toes are coming off the ground. This is a key thing to know, that my weight is on my heels, and that's as I fall back, and I got to trust it. This is how I really test I'm doing my hip hinge, and I got my silver back spine. I can plant my toes once I hit the object. Now from here, hip thrust forward. At that point, I'm actually a little too far, so now I would adjust my feet again to now do the same motion to where I don't need to where I can keep my toes flat, weights on the heels, eyes are mildly forward in a neutral position, okay, and as I go forward. And that would be the testing method for the hip hinge. Just kidding. But anyways, last test here for hip hinging. All you'll need is like some sort of like staff pole. Could be a broomstick. I just happen to have a spear with me today because that works just as good. So from, once again, you know, they got that shoulder width apart. We were looking for 3 points of contact. What this does is help to make sure we're getting our silver back position and our neck in a neutral spot when we properly deadlift. So I'm going to press the staff. I'm going to have my tailbone, my mid-back, my mid-spine, and the back of my head. I should never lose any of these 3 contact positions at all when I do the hip hinge. So when I'm ready, I'm going to hit my hips back, kick my hips back, and I should be able to keep the feel of those 3 positions. That's how I know I'm hip hinging correctly. So if I once again were to deadlift, pick up a kettlebell, this is an amazing tool. I got 3 points of contact. I got the slight knee bend and the hip drive going forward in the locked position. And when you get to the top, make sure you do squeeze your quadriceps, your glutes, your abdominals. Even try to feel like your latissimus dorsi, that armpit squeeze. Your weight's on the heel. You're pulling that kneecap up. Your toes are rooting into the floor when doing this practice. This is essentially what will help you be able to deadlift any amount of weight that maybe could be your goal, or just really just the deadlift functionally. Keep that in mind. I go.
I've taught you for 3 years, instructing you in my poison clan techniques. Yes, I must tell you that the clan is a danger to the public. We live here in seclusion, so we can talk about the poison clan. For many men,